Forest Park was a Texas chain of beautifully constructed hospitals. Operative word, was. Beneath the veneer of great architecture and beautiful interior design was, so federal prosecutors alleged, a decrepit scheme involving questionable marketing agreements and multiple types of fake arrangements, from consulting contracts to leases and even fake companies. The alleged aim? Referrals of well-insured patients to the out-of-network hospitals. A few months ago, a slew of defendants, including physicians, were sentenced to terms in federal prison. Let's start with some background. In April 2019, the jury in the second round of Forest Park bribery and kickback trials in federal court in Dallas found 7 of 9 defendants guilty. Spine surgeon Sean Henry, spine surgeon Michael Rimlawi, pain management physician Mike Shaw, spine surgeon Douglas Wan, nurse and workers' compensation insurance consultant Iris Forrest, Forest Park's co-administrator Mike Burt, and last, the owner of companies through which Forest Park channeled payments to physicians, Jackson Jacob. Others had been found guilty at earlier trials or had pleaded out guilty. At issue were multiple charges, from violation of the federal anti-kickback statute to money laundering. The government contended that Forest Park took in $200 million and paid out $40 million in kickbacks and bribes before finally shutting down all business operations. Central to the fact pattern concerning the convicted physicians was the, quote, co-marketing agreement concept. The physicians were given, quote, marketing money to boost their practices and ultimately the hospital's business. The defendants argued that the so-called, quote, marketing money was not tied to referrals, an argument that the prosecution dismissed. At least one of the participants in the scheme admitted that marketing money was doled out as a percentage of referred cases. In April of this year, 2021, the 7 mentioned defendants were finally sentenced. Sean Henry received 7.5 years. Michael Rimlawi received 7.5 years. Mike Shaw, 48 months. Douglas Wan, 5 years. Iris Forrest, 3 years. Mac Burt, 12.5 years. Jackson Jacob, 8 years. Additionally, previously convicted participants were also sentenced earlier this year. Hospital manager Alan Andrew Beecham, who pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. Wade Neal Barker, a physician, a Forest Park co-founder, who pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Chiropractor Frank Gonzalez, who referred patients to Forest Park for bribes and who pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 21 months. Israel Ortiz, who pleaded guilty and whose company filled out pre-authorizations for workers' comp patients, received a 1-year sentence. But wait, there's still more. The other Forest Park co-founder, Dr. Richard Toussaint, who pleaded guilty, was previously sentenced to 5 years in prison to run concurrently with another sentence he was even then previously serving. Andrew Jonathan Hillman, a healthcare company owner, was sentenced in December 2019 to 5 years in prison after pleading guilty. A man by the name of Semyon Narasov, who was Hillman's business associate, was sentenced in July 2020 to 4 years, 3 months in prison after pleading guilty. Carly Adele Hempel was sentenced in October 2020 to 3 years probation. She pleaded guilty. And Kelly Wade Loter, and Andrea K. Smith, both of whom pleaded guilty, were given probation in January 2020. So, what's the moral of this sad story? The easiest and the most gratuitous takeaway is that kickbacks are illegal, but you already knew that. What's far more important to note is that the need for caution, extreme caution whenever entering into any sort of financial relationship with someone or some entity with whom you share a referral relationship, no matter which way the referrals are flowing. For example, some of the allegations in the Forest Park case centered around the payment of marketing money from the facility to the physicians. Some naively believe that marketing money from a hospital to physicians is not something that should involve significant anti-kickback scrutiny. Well, wrong. Additionally, Forest Park shows that even convoluted payments through money drop entities, even ones that look like a game of chutes and ladders, can be unwoven. And as a double takeaway for you, they can be unwoven by other participants in a scheme, such as the former Forest Park Chief Operating Officer and a physician investor / founder who both previously pleaded out early and cooperated with the authorities in convicting their fellow schemers. One can assume that all or nearly all of the now convicted men and women had counsel advise them on the propriety of their arrangements. In fact, the Dallas Morning News reported that the sentenced physicians had the marketing money deal approved by their so-called healthcare lawyers. When someone tells you that the deal is okay because their attorney vetted it, don't be so sure. Get your own counsel. And make sure that the person advising you not only has knowledge, but also has a pretty good dose of common sense, which apparently is not all that common.